Someone just said something infuriating. All eyes are on you, anticipating your reaction. Your initial impulse might be to lash out, to fire back with equally sharp words. But this is precisely the moment to recall the enduring wisdom of the ancient Stoics. True wisdom isn't about winning shouting matches. It's about maintaining composure, wielding the weapon of reason, and employing responses that disarm your opponent without ever raising your voice. This isn't about backing down or exhibiting weakness. It's about demonstrating the truest form of strength, the ability to control your own reactions. I'm not teaching you how to argue aggressively or belittle someone. My goal is to show you how to resolve conflict gracefully, uphold your dignity, and, in some instances, even transform an adversary into an ally. Marcus Aurelius once wisely observed, "The best answer to anger is intentional silence." Today, I'll share 5 insightful responses that Stoics have utilized for over 2 millennia. The third response in particular is exceptionally powerful. It transforms an attack into a self-revelation, causing the aggressor to realize they've inadvertently revealed more about themselves than about you. Stay tuned. Click that subscribe button and let's embark on this journey of wisdom together. Response number 1. I see your point. Help me understand your reasoning. The most potent weapon against aggression isn't a sharp sword or cutting remarks. It's genuine curiosity. When someone attacks your ideas or your character, instead of immediately resorting to defense or counterattack, respond with sincere interest in their perspective. This approach completely disarms them because they've mentally prepared for a battle, not a thoughtful conversation. I recall a tense team meeting from several years ago. We were discussing a project proposal I had dedicated weeks to researching and developing. Midway through my presentation, a colleague abruptly interrupted and declared, "You're completely out of touch with reality on this proposal. It's clear you don't understand anything about the current market." So, my blood instantly started to boil. I felt my face flush, and my initial instinctive reaction was to defend my work, to meticulously detail all the research I'd conducted and all the experts I'd consulted. However, instead, I took a deep breath and calmly replied, "I see your point, David. Can you help me understand your reasoning? Which specific aspects seem unrealistic to you?" The room immediately fell silent. All eyes shifted to David, awaiting his response. Then something fascinating transpired. He began to stumble over his words. He fumbled, searching for concrete reasons to support his assertion, but he couldn't find any. He eventually conceded that he hadn't thoroughly reviewed the entire proposal and was merely reacting based on intuition. The effectiveness of this response lies in its ability to compel a shift from emotional reaction to logical explanation. Most individuals who verbally attack others struggle to defend their position when pressed for specific details. They might hurl vague accusations, words like unrealistic, naive, or uninformed. But when you ask them for specific explanations, they often discover they have nothing substantial to offer. This is precisely the approach that Socrates, a figure deeply admired by Stoic philosophers, mastered. He famously stated, "The only true wisdom is knowing you know nothing." This response embodies that same humility. You acknowledge the possibility of having overlooked something and genuinely express a desire to learn. Simultaneously, it subtly exposes the lack of knowledge in others without resorting to aggression. The brilliance of this method lies in its ability to transform you from a target into the conversation's leader. Instead of being forced into a defensive posture, you seize control by asking questions. Now, the onus is on them to substantiate their claims. not on you to defend yours. The underlying psychology is quite compelling. When individuals make accusatory statements, they often operate from emotion rather than logic. They haven't carefully considered their criticism. They're simply reacting. By requesting their reasoning, you force them to engage their rational minds, and they often realize their attack was unwarranted. Utilize this response when someone makes vague accusations or criticisms. It's crucial that your tone be genuine. Avoid any hint of sarcasm. You must genuinely want to understand. If your tone sounds challenging or condescending, this method will backfire. Instead, speak with the sincere curiosity of someone eager to learn. This method is particularly effective with people who enjoy criticizing, but dislike having to justify their criticisms. Those who readily pass judgment without a solid foundation. It's also exceptionally powerful in group settings, as everyone witnesses the individual either provide substantial reasoning or reveal their unwillingness to engage constructively. The beauty lies in preserving your dignity while offering them the opportunity to contribute meaningfully or expose their lack of substance. You aren't counterattacking. You're simply requesting factual support for their assertions. However, sometimes, after requesting an explanation, you discover they actually have a valid point. They might present compelling reasons and legitimate concerns. This is precisely when our second response becomes crucial. Response number 2. You're absolutely right, and here's what I'm going to do about it. Sometimes the quickest path to victory is strategic surrender. When someone points out a legitimate flaw or mistake, instead of making excuses or becoming defensive, immediately acknowledge it and announce your plan to rectify the situation. This eliminates their ammunition and completely alters the conversation's dynamic. This occurred during a client meeting I'll never forget. We had been working with this particular client for about 6 months, and they had noticed an unsatisfactory pattern. In front of the entire team, the client stated, "Your team has missed the deadline again. This is becoming a serious pattern, and frankly, it's affecting our confidence in your ability to deliver." I could feel the tension in the room. My team looked to me, likely expecting me to offer justifications for the delays, the scope changes, the technical challenges, the resource constraints. And honestly, we did have legitimate reasons. But instead of going down that road, I looked directly at the client and said, "You're absolutely right, and here's what I'm going to do about it. I'm implementing a new project tracking system this week that will provide us with better visibility into potential delays. I'll also be sending you weekly progress updates every Friday, so you'll never be surprised again. And for this current project, I'm personally taking ownership to ensure we deliver by the revised deadline we'll set today." The shift in the room's atmosphere was instantaneous. The client's defensive posture relaxed. Instead of continuing to criticize our reliability, they began asking constructive questions about the new system. The remainder of the meeting was spent collaborating on solutions rather than defending past mistakes. This response works because those who criticize want to see one of two things. They either want you to squirm and make excuses, thereby validating their doubts, or they want to see you take the problem seriously and resolve it. When you immediately choose the second option, you transform criticism into cooperation. The psychological impact here is profound. Most people anticipate defensiveness when problems are pointed out. They brace themselves for a fight, for explanations, for blame shifting. However, when you completely own the issue and present immediate action steps, you demonstrate the kind of leadership and maturity that fosters respect, rather than destroying it. Epictetus wisely taught us, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Taking immediate responsibility embodies wisdom and strength far more effectively than any defense ever could. It shows that you're more interested in problem solving than in protecting your ego. But there's a crucial caveat. Only use this response when the criticism is genuinely valid. If someone is making unfair accusations or attacking you for matters beyond your control, this response would be inappropriate. The power stems specifically from your willingness to accept reality and act decisively when you are genuinely at fault. The disarming effect arises from removing the critic's entire reason for being upset. They raised the problem because they wanted it resolved. When you immediately commit to resolving it, they receive exactly what they desired. There's nothing left to argue about. This response transforms critics into collaborators almost instantly. Instead of being adversaries, arguing about the existence of a problem, you become partners, working together to solve it. The individual who was criticizing you often becomes your strongest supporter because you've demonstrated that you listen and take action. However, not all attacks are based on legitimate concerns. Some individuals simply seek to provoke you, requiring a completely different approach. This brings us to our third response. Response number 3. That's an interesting perspective. What made you think of it? The most elegant way to silence someone is to allow them to reveal themselves. When someone makes a provocative or insulting comment, respond with calm curiosity about their motivation. This forces them to either admit they're being unreasonable or dig themselves into an even more indefensible position. I witnessed this executed masterfully at a dinner party last year. A friend of mine, let's call her Rachel, is a freelance graphic designer who has built a successful business over the past decade. During the evening, someone she'd just met made a snide remark. Freelancing must be nice. Basically getting paid to play around on a computer all day without any real responsibility. The comment was clearly intended to provoke. Everyone at the table felt the sting. Rachel could have become defensive, could have listed her credentials, her clients, the long hours she works. Instead, she smiled genuinely and said, "That's an interesting perspective. What made you think of that?" The man stammered for a moment, clearly unprepared for that response. He struggled to find words that didn't make him sound petty or ignorant. Finally, he admitted, "I guess I don't really know what freelance design work involves." The entire table witnessed him reveal his own ignorance and prejudice. This response is brilliant because it appears genuinely interested, while subtly exposing the speaker's lack of substance or hidden motivations. They thought they were attacking you, but they ended up attacking themselves. You've given them enough rope, and they've used it precisely as you anticipated. The beauty lies in its apparent innocence. You're not being sarcastic or confrontational. You sound genuinely curious about how they formed their opinion. However, psychologically, you're forcing them to examine and explain their thought process. And most provocative comments cannot withstand that level of scrutiny. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." This response embodies that perfectly. While they attempt to drag you down to their level of pettiness, you remain composed, curious, and dignified. The contrast becomes apparent to everyone observing. The key to this response is your tone. You must sound genuinely curious, not sarcastic. Allow their words, not your attitude, to expose them. If you deliver this with even a hint of mockery, it becomes an attack rather than an invitation for reflection. This is particularly effective with individuals who make assumptions or judgments without facts, who speak from prejudice rather than knowledge. It's also powerful because it works in any setting. Professional environments, social gatherings, even family dinners where someone makes an inappropriate comment. What happens next typically falls into one of two categories. Either they realize they've been unfair and apologize, or they double down and make themselves look even worse. Either way, you win. without engaging in a fight. The individual making the provocative comment usually hasn't considered why they said what they said. They're operating from emotion, assumption, or some unexamined bias. When you ask them to trace their reasoning, they often discover they lack a real basis for their attack. Sometimes, however, you'll encounter someone unmoved by logic, curiosity, or even their own obvious lack of reasoning. They're determined to be difficult, regardless of your gracious response. That's when you need our fourth response. Response number 4. I appreciate you sharing that with me. Nothing disarms hostility quite like unexpected gratitude. When confronted with insults, complaints, or harsh criticism, respond with sincere appreciation for their honesty. This completely shifts the dynamic from confrontation to conversation, often leaving the other person unsure whether to continue being aggressive. This approach saved what could have been a nightmarish situation with my neighbor about 2 years ago. I had recently adopted a rescue dog, and apparently he was barking during the early morning hours while I was at work. I was unaware of this until my neighbor confronted me one evening. He stormed onto my front yard while I was retrieving my mail and shouted, "Your dog is driving the whole neighborhood crazy." He barks non-stop from 6 a.m. until you get home. It's completely inconsiderate, and frankly, some of us are thinking about calling animal control. My initial instinct was to become defensive. I wanted to explain that I had just adopted the dog, that I was working on the problem, that he could have approached me more civilly. But instead, I took a breath and said, "I really appreciate you sharing that with me. I had no idea this was happening, and I'm genuinely glad you felt comfortable enough to tell me directly, rather than just letting the frustration build up." The change in his demeanor was immediate and dramatic. His shoulders relaxed, his voice softened, and suddenly we weren't adversaries anymore. We were two neighbors trying to solve a problem together. He began offering suggestions about dog training, shared his own pet experiences, and even recommended a local trainer who had helped his sister. What began as an angry confrontation ended with us exchanging phone numbers so he could text me if the barking recurred. This response works because people expect defensiveness or counterattacks when confronted with complaints. They often mentally rehearse the conversation, anticipating excuses or retaliatory attacks. When you respond with gratitude, you completely derail their prepared script and force them to adopt a more collaborative mindset. The psychological principle here is profound. When someone criticizes you aggressively, they're usually feeling frustrated or powerless. By thanking them for their honesty, you acknowledge their feelings and treat them as someone whose opinion matters. This transforms them from an adversary into someone helping you improve. Seneca taught us, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. This response ends the conflict and initiates cooperation. It demonstrates that you're confident enough to receive feedback without becoming defensive, even when it's poorly delivered. The key is recognizing the difference between someone genuinely trying to help, even if rudely, and someone simply trying to hurt you. This response works best when the person has a legitimate concern, but expresses it aggressively or inconsiderately. Your gratitude acknowledges their good intentions, while completely disregarding their poor delivery. It's remarkable how this response often brings out the best in people. When you treat someone as reasonable and well-intentioned, they often rise to meet that expectation. The neighbor who shouted at me about my dog became one of my most helpful allies in resolving the problem. You'll be amazed at how quickly people's tone changes when they feel heard and appreciated, rather than attacked or dismissed. It's the difference between making an enemy and making an ally over the same issue. But what about those situations where nothing you say seems to matter? Where someone is determined to be difficult, regardless of how gracefully you respond? That's where our final response proves most powerful. Response number 5, a silent pause and "thank you for that insight." Sometimes, the most impactful response follows silence. When someone says something particularly outrageous or hurtful, pause for a few seconds, maintain eye contact, and then calmly say, "Thank you for that insight." The pause does most of the work. It compels everyone to truly hear what was just said, while your gracious response highlights the stark contrast between their behavior and yours. I'll never forget when this response saved my reputation during a business presentation about 3 years ago. I was pitching a new marketing strategy to a room of potential partners, including several competitors. The presentation was proceeding well until one competitor, clearly feeling threatened, attempted to undermine me publicly. Midway through my explanation of market research, he interrupted and said, "I'm not sure we can trust marketing advice from someone with such obviously limited experience in this field. Maybe we should hear from someone who actually knows what they're talking about." The room fell silent. Everyone sensed the inappropriate aggression of his comment. I felt the familiar surge of anger and the urge to defend my credentials, to list my accomplishments, to point out his own shortcomings. Instead, I stopped speaking, looked directly at him for what felt like an eternity, but was probably only 3 seconds, and then calmly said, "Thank you for that insight." The subsequent silence was deafening. His attack hung in the air like a foul odor that everyone could suddenly detect. People shifted uncomfortably in their seats. A few even looked embarrassed for him. I didn't need to defend myself. His words, highlighted by my response and that strategic pause, revealed his true character to everyone present. The rest of the presentation went smoothly, and afterwards several people approached me privately to apologize for his behavior and to express their admiration for how I handled it. We won the contract we were competing for, partly because the committee felt he had demonstrated poor judgment and unprofessional conduct. The pause is absolutely crucial to this technique. It creates space for their words to hang in the air for examination. During those few seconds of silence, people have time to process what was said and recognize its inappropriateness. Without the pause, your response might seem automatic or sarcastic. With the pause, you demonstrate complete emotional control. Your calm response should sound genuinely appreciative, not sarcastic. The goal isn't to mock them, but to display such grace under pressure that their attack appears petty by comparison. You're taking the high road so visibly that everyone sees the difference between your character and theirs. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This response demonstrates complete mastery over your emotional reactions. While they are letting their worst impulses control them, you're showcasing the self-discipline that true strength requires. This response is particularly potent in group settings, where others witness the contrast between your composure and their aggression. It works because it makes their behavior the focus, rather than the content of their attack. People stop considering the validity of their criticism and begin considering why they chose to express it so inappropriately. The person who attacked you often feels foolish, realizing everyone saw their true character. They anticipated you becoming angry, fighting back, justifying their aggression. Instead, you responded with such dignity that you diminished them without uttering a single negative word. What makes this response so effective is that it embodies a core Stoic principle. You cannot control others' behavior, but you can control your response to it. By choosing grace over retaliation, patience over reactivity, you demonstrate the kind of strength that commands respect. These 5 responses are effective because they share a common thread. They keep you in control of yourself while allowing others to reveal their true selves. That's the true power of Stoic wisdom. Not in winning arguments, but in maintaining your dignity, regardless of how others choose to behave. These 5 responses share a common thread. They keep you in control while allowing others to reveal their true character. That's the real power of Stoic wisdom. Not in winning arguments, but in maintaining your dignity, regardless of how others choose to behave. Remember, the goal isn't to defeat people in conversation. It's to preserve your peace of mind and foster meaningful dialogue whenever possible. When you respond with wisdom instead of emotion, you don't just win the argument, you earn respect and often transform conflict into cooperation. The ancient Stoics understood that our reactions define us more than what happens to us. These responses prove that strength isn't about having the loudest voice or the sharpest comeback. True strength lies in choosing grace under pressure. If this video helped you feel more confident in challenging conversations, please like it to share this wisdom with others who need it. Subscribe to Stoic Focus to continue building the mental discipline that leads to genuine respect and inner peace. Your responses reveal your character. Choose wisely.